Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is somewhat of a pre-launch, and maybe we'll wait for some people to roll in, as I haven't done my stock portfolio updates today, so I figured I haven't been live on my channel in a while, so why not stop in and kind of just get ready to pump it up here, folks, because, I mean, we're hitting all-time highs yet again, outperforming the S&P 500, and I just wanted to get ready, get warmed up. We're going to be doing a live stream on the Passive Income Educator. I managed to pick up a cigar, kind of off the cuff nonetheless here, folks, because I didn't even look at my portfolio today, which we're going to take a very brief look through in about a second here while we wait for a couple of you guys to roll in. Maybe we should just while we roll through the portfolio to feel like a boss. But nonetheless, folks, let's just take a quick peek at this because I'm going to have to do the full updates tomorrow because I think it's primarily due to Tesla. So maybe we'll just hop into the Tesla account first to launch this off, and then I'll show you some of the other stocks that are just slaughtering. Oh my goodness, guys, look at this account. Can you guys see this in the background here? This is my RRSP, and I can't wait to get the performance update. This is where I hold my Tesla shares, and it's nice to see that we got 8 of you guys floating around, so feel free to slap in some comments there. This is the pre-party launch to the all-time high portfolio. Like I said, guys, we're picking up some snacks for a bit later on the Passive Income Educator, so don't mind if I'm a little overexcited here. But taking a look at the RRSP, which is where I think most of my driving growth is essentially coming from right now, which will maybe pick you guys up so you can scroll on over and just take a look. This is an account that I actually doubled, and holding it this way makes it look really shaky, so I'm going to try and put this back down for you guys. But nonetheless, this is the account that is doing all the driving here, guys. This account is up over, I think, 140% right now in under a year. And again, it comes back to the prime focus of primarily Facebook and Tesla. If I can scroll down to the left, maybe you guys can see it here. Considering we are actually up on our Tesla position about 330% since I liquidated the initial investment, which now you kind of get a little antsy about, selling off that half shares, because I think I had about 20 shares, and I liquidated the other half, I think at around 750, 800. But luckily, I threw all of that into Facebook, in which, I mean, is just crushing as well right now, up in this account about 17%. If we go take a look at the tax-free savings account, the retirement account, my golden child here, because this is the one that drips all this cash flow tax-free that I have full access to whenever I so please. But in this account here, folks, just taking a quick peek nonetheless, the account's up $12,000. It's hard to gauge this because I used to move stocks around a lot, so it sucks because my TFSA, the only way I can tell what my performance truly is by essentially looking at the month-over-month performance, because it actually shows me what my growth is from dividends, capital gains, and everything combined, whereas most of what you see here doesn't actually equate to what the real numbers are, because obviously I bought, sold, and moved stocks. But right now on the Canadian side, we got Northland Power here up a whopping 47%. Northland Power is what I have considered the greatest monthly dividend stock of all time, in my personal opinion. And as of late, guys, I think it started cracking that 345 mark, sitting at 3450 mark, and we're currently sitting at 3470. And then on the US side of the border, taking a look, Microsoft and Apple, folks, tech stocks driving the way as always. And I'm not gonna ream anyone out too hard here right now for the tech stocks. Start going off about tech stocks. You got to own them tech stocks, folks. I mean, there's a whole reason my portfolio is doing any good. But let's take a look at the managed account, where I mainly hold MindMed, my other Facebook shares. Now, it's a little convoluted because it says I'm up 34%, but you got to remember, I actually had to pull this money out of my RSP due to an over contribution. So even though it looks like I'm up massively on Facebook here, I'm not up any more than I actually am in this account, because this was the initial buy price was around 209 for Facebook. So realistically, even in this account, I'm actually only up about 6%. But I mean, it looks nice when you see a 34% gain. That's not actual. MindMed, oh wow, MindMed's down 12. It's only at 45 cents, so it's down 21%. I never really pay attention to that one, if I'm being honest. Ryokan has been the hype. We've been talking about it nonstop in our chat group here, folks. If you're not the REIT fans, I've getting a lot of questions about all the different REITs. Brookfield Renewable Energy. We also have, obviously, Ryokan. A lot of people talk about CAR, but if I'm being honest, in Canada, the only two I ever hear right now is sometimes Smart REIT comes up, but it's always Brookfield Real Estate Management or whatever. And then we also have Ryokan. On the US, it's always O Realty Income. And then the other one I hear the most is American Towers, because I think Bill Ackman started a little trend going there, as he was kind of bullish on it, because with 5G and just the fact that this company's adopting into the infrastructure they have, I think it's probably a most likely one of the safest REITs you can buy. And you might argue this fact as well, that I think GEO Group is one of the most reliable REITs you can buy, not on the aspect of like the dividend reliability or the fact that the stock is volatile as all heck. I just believe that on the core fundamental reality of the business, it's not going anywhere, folks. I mean, think realistically, prisons, right? How do you uproot the prison system? I say it all the time. There's a movie called Demolition Man. Go watch it, because it's the future where they cryogenics, and they freeze people and they reprogram their mind, so they're not so violent over time. But realistically, I don't know why everyone hates prison system so much. I guess it has to do with the next election cycle, but I'm holding strong on that. Dividend just got declared, folks. The only reason I'm really talking about GEO Group, because I thought they were going to cut the dividend when Core Civic cut their dividend, because they're changing somewhat of their infrastructure. But Geo Group's still paying out, so maybe those riots are going to be looking better for the quarterly earnings coming up. But yeah, guys, essentially we're just sitting here celebrating, and we're all building up to the catalyst that's going to decide whether the stock market goes higher or lower. And if I'm being honest, the tech stocks have been driving the market already. And the fact that you have Apple, a lot of these big companies doing share buybacks, folks, that might take enough shares off the table that even if their earnings drop, because there's less shares on the table, it still increases the earnings per share on a quarterly basis. So it's going to be fascinating to see these earnings, guys. I honestly can't wait. It's probably going to be one of the most exciting earnings. I was already outside celebrating a little bit with my dad, because we were just joking about how this has gone from literally the worst year I've ever had in my life to the best in literally a 6-month time frames. All it took, guys, 6 months to watch everything fall apart, to literally me potentially, again, because we're talking about asset value, not actual income. My cash flows, I still need to get built up, but on an asset value basis, if we are talking about the stock portfolio, I think getting away from any contributions I've made, I'm probably up about $25,000 to $27,000. Ridiculous for a 6 to 7 month time frame. On top of that, if we plug in the dividends, plus we start plugging in the contributions that I personally made, which I think equates to 8,000 or 9,000, we're looking at about a $35,000 to $40,000 in growth in the first 6 months. It's nothing I have ever said before in my life. And then on the other spectrum of things, even though I have lost my job, so long as and I think I tease a lot of people off when I start talking about the websites, but the valuation that we currently have on our website portfolio, from my understanding, gives me an equity value being very conservative, between 15 and 20,000 US. So if we plop that on top of my equity growth, I mean, we're looking at something that doesn't seem real, because when I do the math and work out the monthly numbers, I mean, we're talking about $10,000 a month in growth. And it's weird to not actualize that money, because it's like if I just decided to hit the sell button today, like, it'd be great. I'd have made my full-time income for the year. Of course, I'd be paying taxes out my wahoo to the government, except in the tax-free account. But again, most of my, I can't even really have access to most of this except for the tax-free savings account. The RSP is locked up. And keep in mind, what is the I don't know. The RSP is fascinating to me, because this was a stupid account I didn't want anyways. I started it not even, I think, going into 2020 here. I'd have to go take a look, but it's only been like it's been 7 or 8 months, because I think I started this in November, and the account's worth $35,000 today. My contribution limit was only 14,000, folks. So I mean, most of the growth is driven from here, but unfortunately, can't access this without paying penalties. And again, I don't mind that, because all this capital is tax-free as it sits in the account. So if it can keep growing tax-free, I'm all for it. And at the end of the day, if I want to pull out a little bit, like 5,000 or less, so I only end up paying a 15% penalty, yeah, that 15-20%, I'm going to lose $1,000. But at the end of the day, if it's all profit, it's all profit. Because at some point, depending on how my financial independence journey goes here, if I can get to my goals in the next 2 years, which it looks like, if things keep going the way they're going, I might get there this year. But at the end of the day, if it starts scaling up and it gets to where I want it to be, and I decide that I want more dividend growth outside of the RSP, I'll just pay the taxes and pull the money out. Because at the end of the day, this deferred my income, so I paid less tax. Not only is it deferring my income and lowering my tax bracket, all the money is tax-free. All these capital gains, these dividends, everything. There's no withholding tax on Johnson & Johnson. It's a purely free account, just until you touch it. So at the end of the day, I'm gonna be cautious with this one, folks. But yeah, guys, if you have any comments or questions, we've got 14 of you in here. I'm gonna be kicking off. This is just a quick 10-minute celebratory video updating the stock portfolio, folks, because things are pretty good. Even though RioCan is down, it's one of my largest positions now at $25,000. I am down on it because yeah, it would dip below 15. We got a question here. Hey man, I like the idea. Let me throw that up. Sorry guys, I'm on the YouTube live, which is annoying because your comments eventually fade away. So I'm going to lift you up here. If you guys have any comments or questions, feel free to bring them up. Let me make sure all the chats are visible here. So we got one from saying, hey man, I like the idea of leveraging an account and putting it into RioCan. Why does that keep vanishing? I don't even get time to read this. I got live chats left up. What would be the lowest interest rate of broker you suggest? I'm currently with Questrade. Sorry if I brutalized your question, but I think I can answer. I know what you're going for here. Yeah. Honestly, if you're looking to leverage credit, obviously do it within a manner that makes sense to your risk tolerance level. I mean, I don't think I have to explain that anymore. I've read that enough. At the end of the day, though, it's really hard to get a line of credit. If you can get one already, they should have just lowered the interest rate. Mind you, Scotiabank has given me the lowest rate, and it's really weird because they didn't want to give me a line of credit in the first place. I literally went to them first. I'm like, look, I got a 100K portfolio. I just want a line of credit. Start building things up here, right? And they're like, no, you manage your own money. Get out. Like, we can't trust you. We're not giving you anything. I went to the Royal Bank, and they just gave me a $20,000 line of credit at, I think it was around 10%. Not that I ever planned on using it. I just want it so I can build that credit in case I decide to buy a house. And then sure enough, one thing leads to another. We head into a black swan event, and then all of a sudden, I watch my credit rates drop because they're floating interest rates, so they're completely based on what the bank decides to do month over month. And I watched the credit rate because Bank of Nova Scotia gave me a credit rate of I think about 7 or 8% at the beginning, and Royal Bank was around 9%, 10% at the beginning. And then going into this pandemic, month over month, they just kept lowering the interest rate, lowering the interest rate. Now with Royal Bank, they're a little greedy with me because they still want 8%. That was the lowest they went. I should call them actually and see if they'll lower it, excuse me, even further. But with Scotiabank, yeah, they just lowered it to 4.9%, and they don't plan on raising it anytime soon, which is a wonderful way of utilizing it, in my opinion, because what I'm personally doing is just leaving my own capital in a high interest savings account. Because in this set of circumstances, it seems to make the most sense to me. It's just like, I can leverage the bank's money, keep my own money, make interest on both sides. And if something horrific happens, I mean, there's more than enough capability to pay it off due to the risk tolerance level. So is this in your margin account? Do not touch margin. Margin is, oh my, well, that actually might be debatable because, I mean, if you're leaving the capital sitting around to cover any losses that you may experience, margin might work, and it might actually be a cheaper interest rate realistically. The only thing with margin is you lose control of your account. That's the only thing you have to keep in mind. And I'll answer your question on how do the dividends look for maintaining the Canadian bank dividends. But nonetheless, yeah, you guys, when you're using margin, be aware that if things drop rapidly overnight, like we just saw with this Black Swan event, keep in mind that they can completely lock you out of your account, force sell the position, and make you pay the loss difference. It's really weird. I do think they give you a time scenario, like within a day, you have to top the account up to X amount to bring the percentage ratios back to their comfortability level. That's the annoying part, guys. I hate it. I don't like owing people stuff and letting them have that kind of control. Whereas with the line of credit, no control on anything. Floating interest rate, no minimum payments. There's minimum payments, but there's no minimum, what is it called? Not the interest payment, but you have to do the extra payment on top. Usually they require interest plus a minimum payment that starts bringing it down. But with the credit card or the line of credit, none of that. You only have to pay the basic interest, and you can use it as you please. Again, the only volatility that comes with those kind of line of credits is the floating interest. But you are not going to become a victim to a locked margin account, especially if you make a mistake. Because we don't look at all the examples, man. Most of the stocks drop massively. If you owned like a basic even S&P 500 ETF with margin, they still probably would have did a margin call on you because it dropped 20% at the bottom, 25%. This is the biggest issue. Now, talking about the banks and if their dividends are going to be safe, I would still take the Canadian banks any day over these U.S. banks, okay? We haven't, the principal, thanks for, throwing that comment in there. That's what I was thinking. You got to pay the principal on top of the interest, the minimum principal. But nonetheless, Canadian banks, folks, way better off right now because when we were heading into some fear around the Canadian economy, as I told you guys, they already started building up loan loss provisions. And loan loss provisions aren't actually spent money. It's just money they set aside in case they're going to have to utilize it, which to some extent we're going to find out on this quarterly earnings how much of that loan loss provision they had to dip into. If they didn't have to dip into much, we're in the clear, folks. If they dipped into a lot of it and they need to add more, we might be in trouble. So that's going to be one of the biggest risk factors right now with the banks. But honestly, guys, the banks survived the '08 crash. Most of the Canadian banks, I can't think of any major Canadian bank that cut its dividend back in 2008. Like I said, we're just better capitalized. We're a faster growing country. We got to think we've only got 30 something million people here. So the fact that we're growing so fast only gives these banks kind of a security hedge against the future. Obviously, real estate's a big if here, but I made a video like a week or two ago talking about why Canadian real estate is so expensive. And there's a lot of reasons that keep it being expensive, that if those reasons ever change, I think there'd be massive fluctuations in the prices. But as it stands right now, there's no sign that the real estate's really going to drop, that, the banks are going to have any real issues going under here. Like, think of it this way. Canadian Imperial Bank increased its dividend going right into this pandemic. Like, literally in March, they were just like, forget it, let's just increase it anyways. Is Tesla still a buy? Fascinating question, good sir. Maybe we'll go down the Tesla path. And again, to everybody that is new here, again, this is a celebratory video as we finally hit. I got a cigar. We're getting all geared up for tonight on the Passive Income Educator. If you guys want to join us over there, it's our live stream channel. And we're just celebrating the fact that I hit my year-end goals in the first 7 months. Literally. I wanted to get to 170,000. That was the goal. I started at 130,000 this year. And we are there, folks. So I don't know what to say. It's an odd feeling, very odd feeling. But let's talk about some Tesla, because everybody and their grandmother loves Tesla. When I was buying it, they hated it. I mean, I bought Tesla at 350 to watch it drop to 170. And man, did people ream me out. But being a long-term investor, not giving a crap, obviously everything I hold is going to be for an extended period of time. It works out, folks, and it's just a natural agreement that, there was this stupid little animation I was showing my dad. I think it's hilarious. Little tiny pirate dude running around after 15 years finally finds the golden chest, and he pops it open, pulls out the scroll, and on the scroll it says, the best results that you can possibly get. I think the exact term. I don't want to ramble this off and mess it up. I'm too used to being able to cut my videos down when I can't remember things quote for quote. But the long-term investing renders the best results, folks, and nobody likes to agree with that. And I don't want to offend anybody. There might be some people on this channel that I know, I talked to personally, that sold out of the tech stocks like 3 weeks ago because they thought they were too expensive. And I keep telling you guys, stop trading this stuff. Go trade penny stocks. Keep your blue chip companies. All right, folks. Because one of you guys threw up MindMed there as well. MindMed, I'm going to do some updates here and there. Again, guys, everyone keeps hammering me for updates, but there's nothing happening. We're in the midst of the worst part of the pandemic, the second quarter, the full shutdown here, guys. Got to take a breath, go out, get some exercise, and come back on the quarterly earnings, because nobody's really releasing news right now. We only have Elon hinting toward things about, there's no actual news that Tesla's going to be on the S&P 500. I mean, that's all speculation based on what Elon's been saying, but that's like the headlines these days. And I don't know if new news has come out about that, but I mean, what are you going to, I should just add these dudes to Twitter. I mean, that's the only way you're going to get new news on these companies. And I wish I could tell you more about GEO Group, because tons of people are asking me about it. Tons of people keep asking me about MindMed. I should shoot the owner an email, because these guys are easy to actually get a hold of, because the CEO is essentially like the public face. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if I could get him on and maybe do a private interview just for this channel. Because I got some questions I want to ask him outside of the whole topic. Every time I watch these interviews, they're super boring. I hate that people just keep asking the same questions. Like, when are you going to get there? How does this make money? Oh, you're not going to make money for 2 years? Yeah, but, by the time we get to that point, hopefully we'll have some institutional investors, some manufacturers, maybe Johnson & Johnson. Like, it's all so blah, blah, blah. Like, I want to hear this guy's stories being in Silicon Valley. Like, how did this guy discover that his buddies doing LSD were using it to get off, cocaine? And then all of a sudden, like what is his stories with it, for that matter? Like, if he knew it that much, like, what made him go from, oh wow, this stuff works, to, oh, let's turn this into a public company, folks, and we got Kevin O'Leary on board? I mean, it's such a weird story. Like, you go from getting stoned out of your mind to being like, wow, billion-dollar company, we're gonna get there, guys. But unfortunately for right now, there's too much speculation around these companies. And like I said, guys, it's going to be a volatile ride. I could honestly watch the stock probably drop like 50% from here. It wouldn't surprise me, because right now they're doing capital rounds. It's no different than these SPAC stocks. Like, they're trying to raise money to spend it. And if there's no new money coming in the door, it all just gets spent. And the same thing is said about dividend stocks. If they stop making cash flows, but they keep paying dividends and nobody's there to keep buying up the stock, well, that dividend comes out of the share price and it could slowly eat away the stock, which is one of the biggest dilemmas with owning high dividend paying stocks, which is why GEO Group is the only one I'll buy, because it's completely contractual through the government and taxpayers pay that dividend. And throughout their history, it has always been a high dividend. It's never been low. Is it still a good time to buy RioCan stock for the dividend? Heck yes. There's guys dropping 12K in our chat group right now. I mean, it's under 15 bucks a share. I wish I could have capped it at 12. But the valuation standpoint on it, guys, is I've calculated in the risk loss reward for RioCan, presuming that, we come out of this in a year. My whole basis is around what happens next year, not what happens this year, because this year is just survival mode. But the fact of the matter is they are so well capitalized. They are arguably the best capitalized REIT in Canada. Like they are so prepared for this. They learned from '08. I mean, they didn't even really have issues in 2008. That was more US problems than Canadian problems. But nonetheless, folks, it's trading at a stupid premium behind its multiple growth. And again, you have to project out the fact that they've spent the last, a long time liquidating assets to transfer them. So that's, why we've been lacklustering in stock performance. But at the end of the day, guys, they have all these projects set up. Very well capitalized, AAA rated clients. I could foresee them losing some of these AAA clients because obviously Cineplex, gyms, perhaps even banks with everybody going online is going to get cut back. They right now, as we're aware of, have a 17% deferral rating with an expected 83% income. That was the projected income for, I think, April going into May. But we don't know what's going on over these last few months because I keep checking their news source and there's nothing on the news source itself. In fact, I could probably go there right now and see if they updated it. Because right now they just keep saying things about, I don't know, cleaning. Like they just talk about, the CV problems and just making sure everything's good, safe, and clean. But maybe we'll just do a quick checkout here on their news and see what's up. But yeah, as far as I can tell, there's no new news. We're waiting for these earnings reports to come out. We're going to find out how many of these tenants are paying. My projections predicting that they're going to lose about 20% of the revenue. I'm hoping that's not the case, but presuming they lose 20% of the revenue, the stock is still worth 18 bucks a share, in my opinion. The stock is down way more than the revenue they're currently losing. And the fact that real estate hasn't changed in prices and they're actually still going up in many Toronto regions, if the asset values are still worth the same, but the stock drops 50%, it's like walking into a Bentley shop. Yeah, cash flows are going to be a little damaged in the near term, but presuming we can get off the ground with these mixed-use condo spaces with malls in the bottom and partial office, so people have full use of a condo for maybe going to work and picking up their groceries all in the same building. That is the future RioCan is trying to build here, right? So if we can get to that vision with the capital they have, we're gonna be laughing, guys, in a year or two from now. But yeah, the stock price should be worth 18 to 20 bucks. I don't know why it's been so suppressed, but again, it's real estate. A lot of fear around real estate right now, folks. So if you're going to own it, you want to own the best. Just same thing I say about everything. If you're buying individual stocks, I'd rather just pick a handful of sectors and find the best 1 to 3 stocks in each given sector and then just set it, forget it. That's the joys of passive income, right? But nonetheless, guys, yeah, so the most recent news that we got here that was posted July 7th, as CV continues to be a prominent element of our day-to-day business, it is important to us that you have visibility to steps RioCan has taken to protect. Yeah, it's the same BS is what I keep telling you guys, that, they just keep saying cleaning, we're cleaning everything, guys. It's no different than... It's no different than the cruise lines. Oh, it's going to be super clean. That's all they can really say. Did somebody just mention? So I got to pick you guys up because I missed that comment there. I think some of you were, can you hear the dog down there? This is the joys of doing this, man. I got to listen to these dogs barking. Sorry, let me bring up the live chat here again. I gave up on the MJs. Felt too much like gambling on media releases. Unfortunately for the MJ sector, guys, though I'm going to make a prediction right now. Let me set my camera up. Sorry for the little cockeyed. The prediction that I'm going to make right now is somewhere in the next 6 to 12 months, we're going to see a turnaround in the MJ sector. It's just something that I'm seeing happening, guys. When I was really into the MJ sector, my first big win was Canopy, made 20,000, whatever. I was over the moon about it, and now this year makes that year look like a joke. But nonetheless, that Canopy position I had to liquidate. I couldn't even keep shares because there was no future outlook. Unfortunately, the government is the complete funnel, and understanding the sales funnel behind these businesses is where the cash flows are going to come from. And the way they set it up originally was a nightmare. It was a disaster. Like they were charging twice the black market prices, a lot of issues. But if you go on the Ontario government website, or you go on the Alberta, or if you're Canadian anywhere, look up the new websites. You can buy MJ products now cheaper than you can buy them on the black market. They've completely got drinks, vapes, edibles, the whole 9 yards at really good prices, in my personal opinion. And I know people now that are probably going to start buying from there because it only takes one person to pick up on that, find a product they like, and then they're hooked for the rest of their life. That's all I wanted. I just said, here's what I want. I want the government to open as many stores as they possibly can, and I want it to be cheaper than the black market. That was all they had to do. That was it. Like, it's not rocket science, folks, to sell something. It sells itself. I always said drugs sell themselves. It's not something that a person needs to do. You just got to make it cheaper and you got to make it available. That was it. And now we're seeing all these new stores, like tons of stores opening up this year, folks. A lot of them. I'm talking like, I think we're opening up hundreds now. And then on top of that, the store fixed itself, the online stores. So, I mean, just based on that alone, I'm going to be hesitant still. I wouldn't invest into them right now because I just want to wait to see who's going to come out on top. And as soon as we start seeing something, I'll pay the premium to get in. I've been dying to. And the only one where most of my attention has been right now is essentially on not Canopy. I actually don't like Canopy as much. I like Afria. A lot of people like Aurora. Not sure why. Afria, I think, has a better setup. A lot of people are hating on them because they scaled too quick and now they have to scale back. Too much competition too, right? Like a very competitive market. But all you have to do, get a few products that people love. Let them get hooked. You only need a little tiny of the market share and it's consistent cash flow. I mean, it's one of the best businesses for consistent cash flow. It's just getting it. Once you got it forever, folks. Because drugs sell themselves. People usually don't quit. It's like smokers. I mean, I keep saying I'm going to quit, and I quit vaping, a few other things. But yeah, I'm going to have a cigar once in a while. Why not? I'm going to throw up the comments. You guys have any last question comments that we can go? I love doing these live streams. I feel it's a little bit more engaging to talk to you guys because I don't do it very often through my own channel. But I'm going to take a look at just the last bit of comments. Yeah, the MJ 2.0 looking promising in my opinion. Yeah, I agree too. Unfortunately as well, we don't have the scale the US has. Unfortunately, it would be nice if they could breach into the US markets with 400 million people versus 39 million people. But, I'm happy with them just being Canadian products. I don't think they have to rush to scale if they can just dominate the market here. And yeah, I could possibly imagine there's only going to be a few top winners. I really want to look into Kron. Actually, I shouldn't be talking too negatively here because technically I have exposure to Kron through MO. And I haven't looked into their books as of recent, man. I kind of just stepped aside from it because I still like MO a lot. And I think them partnering with this company is great. But I mean, we're talking about a long-term play because I think MO wants to basically, turn this into like a cigarette product and then blast it out to the US. But, I don't think Trump's too gung-ho on the whole MJ idea thing. Nobody wants to legalize. I mean, it was so hard for that to happen in Canada in the first place. I think it was just this building up of anticipation because so many people here are stoners. With the U.S. taking on massive debt, do you see the U.S. recreational medical MJ legalization? No, I think MindMed their products will come online before you'll see, unless Trump doesn't win the election, and I don't care if he wins or loses. I have no opinion on the guy, if I'm being honest. I'm a Canadian, guys. I'm completely biased here. I love the circus that it's created, but I don't care whatsoever. But the problem is his policies are against the MJ sector. I mean, he doesn't. Every time he talks about it, I don't do drugs. Why would we do that? I mean, the U.S. politics, they're a lot older people, and with no young people coming in, you have to understand that they grew up in a generation that has spent 30 years hammering them about how bad these drugs are and how they ruin lives. And when you come into politics with that mindset, and go ask your grandmother, I mean, you should probably have the same opinion. I don't know too many old people that are for drugs, especially when I start telling them about LSD and these things coming to market soon. But yeah, no, for anxiety, those kind of problems, MJ's not going to come out for that. They're prescription. Do you guys have prescription? I mean, I know a lot of different states have it semi-legalized. When I was in Vegas, I managed to actually pick some up at MindMed for some fun. I mean, that's Vegas, though. Vegas is a little ridiculous. And I know Colorado, maybe. I think the only reason it's legal in some states is because people want to use the medicine for seizures because there's something called Charlotte's Web. And Charlotte's Web was created for a little girl that was dying. And yeah, we're getting rich, ladies and gents. This is a celebration. This is the early celebration here, folks. Just talking about random stuff, anything you want. This is the celebratory video before we go into the late night live stream. But yeah, the Charlotte's Web was this, oh man, what a sad story. I actually put it on the CBD site that I made. But yeah, this poor little girl, and I think it was Colorado. I can't remember exactly. I think they moved to Colorado because that's where it was legal at the time. We're going back to 2009, 2010, give or take. I can't remember. But this little girl, she had permanent seizures. They had no cure. They had no way of fixing it. She would have 30 to 50 bloody seizures a day. And then one of these doctors said, have you ever tried CBD oil? Have you ever tried like any of the MJ products? Because they were running out of options. So they said, you know what, we'll try anything. They gave her a CBD pill. Seizures instantly stopped. She now has 0 seizures, and there's an entire strain of you know, the MJ. I don't know why I'm not saying it. I don't know if I'm going to get banned. I say LSD, but I won't say cannabis. You know what I'm saying? It's so weird. I've kind of got used to the YouTube language. Do you have a sense of how much of your portfolio growth is from share price versus dividend? Yeah. Tomorrow when I make the video, I'll come back to the Charlotte thing in a sec. Some guys just commenting on the dividend portfolio. Yeah, I'm going to break down everything tomorrow on the full update where I'll talk about the gains versus dividends versus what I've contributed. So stick around. You'll see that posted tomorrow at some point. But with Charlotte's Web, yeah, guys, you should look up the video. It'll break your heart. But this poor little girl, completely cured of her seizures. They had to move out of the state they were currently in to go somewhere where it was legal. And yeah, now it's become a whole strain. And in fact, that strain is actually sold, I believe, on the OCS website. It's sold on some of these legal suppliers. It's become a massive MJ strain, and it's only because it doesn't have a lot of THC potency. It's purely CBD related and for people with seizures. Beautiful story, man. It's crazy. That was one of the inspirations that I thought it was so important for the MJ market to become legal. Has there been a year where the stock investing? Sorry, I'm going to bring that comment. I need to stop going on here, guys. I got to get ready for our live stream tonight. Has there been a year where your stock market investing hasn't shattered your expectations? Bro, yeah, man. I didn't know what I was doing in the first year. I talk about this all the time, man. The first year and 6 months of my investing career, I didn't make a dime. Literally didn't make anything. I can show you my performance. My portfolio dropped 50%. How many people think would continue investing after making zero profit over a 1 year and 6 month period with watching their portfolio drop by 50%? I was an idiot, but I saw value in this because I'm very fickle and annoyed when people either, I don't know how to say this. I'm a very somewhat competitive person, and if somebody puts me in a spot where I lose at something, but I know people are winning at, especially people, you know, I really like Kevin O'Leary. I really grew up being inspired by him, and a lot of really big investors, obviously like Warren Buffett and Bill Ackman, tons and tons, like Lori. I mean, we got some more people from like the Shark Tank, Mark Cuban, and these people, I'm like, you know, if they can do this, and what stops me from doing it? I mean, it's there. It should be almost symbiotic. Like what do they know that I don't? And when I was losing at it, I always knew that I was just doing it wrong. And at some point, I'm going to figure out how to do it right if I keep changing the system and I keep learning and I keep just tweaking what I know. And that's how life is. I mean, everything. YouTube, stock portfolio, doesn't matter, guys. If you're not working at it, you're not learning, you're not growing. Complacency is the death of all business. Truest fact I've ever heard in my life. Anything that stagnates will eventually fall off. So you got to be nimble here, folks. Any final questions here, guys? We're going to get ready for the live stream over at the passiveincomeeducator.com is where the link is, but you can go to the Passive Income Educator YouTube channel where we're going to be celebrating the massive portfolio gain. We're going to be smoking the fatty cigar here. Thanks for the insight. I appreciate you just coming on, Christian. I mean, I don't do these very often. I'm glad that we had 30 people pop in, and I see a little bit of smoke coming off to the side, but I hope you guys like my little smoker over here. I got that as a bit of a gift. I actually really enjoy the scent. It's better than candles, but I hear these things get really bad if you don't clean them because they can get moldy and whatnot. Weird segue. Nonetheless, folks, I will see you tonight over at the Passive Income Educator. If you want to join the celebratory live stream while we're all getting rich for what makes no sense at all. So stay cool, stay awesome. Catch you soon.